From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
Hi, you can call me Talbot. I live in Glen Cove, New York on Long Island, very close to the Killenworth estate, which is a 36-acre estate that was built, I believe, in the 1930s on the Gold Coast of the North Shore, among the J.P. Morgan estate and many other huge mansions. Right now, and I think for probably the past 50 or 60 years, the mansion has been occupied by what's called the Russian mission to the UN. I really don't know much about the place. Obama, I know, had expelled some of these people back during his presidency, and nobody really knows what was going on there. It's said to be a place where Russian diplomats can stay and then go speak to the UN. It also has been said it could possibly be a center for Russian espionage. The townspeople and the mayor, people around the county, rightfully so, would like these people to be paying taxes and to be expelled. Or if you guys know anything about it or that we don't know, it would be great. Or if you don't, it'd be cool to let more people know and bring attention to the issue, because these people should, one, be paying taxes, two, not be invading foreign countries with innocent people. I love your podcast. Thank you very much.
There we go.
I love the name Talbot, too.
Yes. Talbot is, in this instance, a reference to a book that Talbot let us know, written by Nelson DeMille, I believe is how you say the author's name, and it is titled The Talbot Odyssey, and it deals with, I believe, the Killenworth Mansion, or estate, or whatever you want to call it, the Killenworth giant friggin' 52-roomed house that exists.
Yeah, it's palatial. I want to see, Matt, before you kick us off here, I want to make a point that I'm sure a lot of people will agree with. This is not a ding against the USSR or Russia specifically. This is solely an observation. You should always assume that an embassy or a foreign, a foreign run structure in another country is at least occasionally home to acts of espionage. That's how the game works. That's like saying, I wonder why these hippos are so hungry. Does anybody else think that's weird? The name of the game is Hungry Hippos. So yeah, of course I think there is going to be espionage, but it is interesting that this is technically just like their country house, right?
It is. It's their country house, their vacation house that happens to be on U.S. soil, that was purchased by the Soviet Union when the Soviet Union was a thing. So let's jump to the history a little bit of this mansion itself. And everyone, I do apologize, but you're also welcome, because we're going to learn about it together. I'm going to Wikipedia, and I'm going to soapbox on it for one moment here. I go to Wikipedia every time we talk about any subject, because if you scroll all the way down, you get the links to where all of the information came from on there, and then from there you can kind of spider web out to learn the story of something. I would highly recommend it for anyone if you're just doing research in general, even for school. Use Wikipedia for what it is, which is a giant collection of links to information. Okay.
It's a bibliography.
It is. It's wonderful. Preaching the old Wikipedia game, Matt Frederick, you're getting old. All right. So so if we look at the history of Killenworth, according to the sources found on Wikipedia, it was originally created in 1912 for a gentleman named George DuPont Pratt, Pratt. Yes, like Chris Pratt, but I doubt it is the same family. You'll recognize the name DuPont. We've spoken about that family several times here and in other shows. Very, very wealthy family. So you can imagine that a DuPont Pratt had lots and lots of money, or at least the estate and the family did, to create this giant mansion. It existed as a mansion, as, a house, essentially, for many years up until 1951, when the Soviet Union came in and purchased the thing. And it was, as you said, Ben, going to be used as a country house, a vacation house, a place for diplomats to go and visit. People such as Nikita Khrushchev, who went and stayed there in the 60s. And to learn a little bit more about that, you can jump over via New York Times system. It's like their archive system that you can access, that anybody can access. You do, I think, have to subscribe to get full access, though. But you can jump to an article written by the New York Times, August 8th, 1982, titled Russians, Long a Thorny Issue, written by John T. McQuiston. And in this article, you can actually read about, a bit of the history of this place, but as well as the issues there in Glen Cove, this part of Long Island, New York, the issues that the county and the city have had with this particular building and the people who own it, because they don't pay taxes on this property. And that recently has come up. There have been very recent protests in the past 3 years over this property and the taxes that are not paid by the owners. Because it is no longer Soviet held, it is Russian held. The group that purchased the home back in 1951 was titled the Soviet Mission to the United Nations. So I think it might be the same thing, just now the Russian version of that. And it is still used to this day by Russian diplomats and other high up folks. And
it's like a hospitality house kind of situation.
It's a place to stay when in the United States.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, like accommodations. Yeah.
And
it's like their I Heart Hotel. Kidding, cut that part.
Got
it. But it is. It totally is.
It's a place where you can go. They make use of beaches that are there, like the public beaches that exist out there, which are lovely, I hear. Tennis courts, golf, all the things that a fancy person might make use of when you're in town staying at a 52 home palatial estate. The other thing, there are so many gripes in that area, by the way, about the Russian diplomats who come in and get discounted prices on like the passes to go and park at the beach, that everybody in town has to pay for, but they get discounts.
Small town stuff. I love it. I love a good small town conspiracy.
Yeah. But that's not the real conspiracy, right? The real conspiracy is the thing that Talbot said right at the end of the message. Like, there have been all sorts of rumors about this place and the people who live there, or at least visit there, and the espionage that they might be getting into. And in a way, it is a method of keeping tabs on what others are doing in a country, right? It's a way of maybe light spying, and there's a great opportunity for more heavy spying if you're in that position with diplomatic immunity. I think there's no difference here. In this case, it's just a ridiculous palatial estate rather than, an embassy on the corner of some main strip in a city.
Yeah, and there's no way to get in. Yeah, sorry.
I just love a good punny headline in the New York Post article, Matt, that you pointed out on this one by Todd Farley, is how Long Island became a hotbed of espionage during the Cold War. Hotbed, Cold War.
Cool.
Cute. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's I got to ask, though, and this is for us, everybody listening, this is for you too, Talbot. One thing that was interesting, Matt, you posted some great links and research here, and I did the same thing too with the Wikipedia article. It's a great primer, and it also lets you know how well or poorly written a wiki article is, because if you check those sources and you see that they're going to 404s or they're going to dead sites, things like that, then you know that the info is probably sus. But this one is back in the news, and there's some great starting sources. I liked New York Curbed, which was just out earlier last month. And I think right now, it's fair to say that the thing that's bothering the Nassau County people so much is not that they have proof of what's happening, but it's two things. It's one, the tax situation, but I think secondly, it's the fact that this is such a black box. Very few non-Russian staff or people have been getting access there. I think there was a local historian who got a tour because he gave them some photographs of the mansion when it was being built, and they called him like 4 weeks later and were like, come on. And they were very nice and hospitable.
Well, now that Russia is, persona non grata again in a large way, what's to become of this facility? Is it going to be taken back over and re-co-opted by Uncle Sam?
There are many who want something like that to occur. I feel like that's highly unlikely. There are many who just want the government to step in and say, yes, this property needs to pay taxes, because it would provide something pretty hefty. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes per year to the county.
Yeah, for a snapshot, the New York Times article back in 1982 said the city was, according to Glen Cove's mayor, losing $100,000 a year on this, $25,000 in taxes for the town, $25,000 for the county, and then $50,000 for the school districts. Won't someone think of the children? You guys, that was part of the argument. But the way that the economy works, we can only rightfully assume that number has dramatically increased over the past decades.
Yes.
So they're not making that up.
No.
It is a drain on the economy.
It is. Recently, a Nassau County executive named Bruce Blakeman was speaking at least right next to, or maybe even on the grounds. Maybe it was like right out front of the grounds, but CBS News covered it, and I'll give you a quick quote right here. Mr. President, President Biden, expel these Russians from Nassau County. We don't need them here, and let's get this property back on the tax rolls so the people of Nassau County and Glen Cove don't have to finance thugs and dictators and people who invade innocent countries.
Wow.
Nice.
Sometimes you can agree with people and still not dig their vibe. But to your question, Noel, like these things can be shut down or effectively repossessed, but it takes it's not usually the host country's first move, because it makes you look bad to all the other countries, and they'll say, well, are we going to be safe? And they'll have a tough time believing you because you'll seem unpredictable. And I think we already mentioned, right, like Russian compounds have been shut down in the past, post-Soviet era, primarily because of concerns about election interference, at least.
So look, I think this is another one we may be able to dig deep enough into to get a whole episode out of. I'd be interested in the New York Post article that you mentioned here, how Long Island became a hotbed of espionage during the Cold War. There's mention, that was from 2021, by the way, written by Todd Farley. You can find mention in there of Plum Island that we have discussed before, where the thought is that perhaps this is the origin point for Lyme disease, and maybe a few other things where there's chemical biological testing being done.
Also, that's where you can get a room with a window and a view of a tree and a walk on the beach.
At Plum Island?
Of course. No, that's where they're going to send Hannibal Lecter. That's the negotiating chip they use in Silence of the Lambs, where they say they're going to give him a private incarceration on Plum Island. Or no, maybe it's once a year he can go there. Anyway, as he says, and a view of a tree. There's also a really great article that you posted that's like a Legacy New York Times article from '82 by John T. McQuiston that goes into this, shows how long this has been something that's being discussed and kind of a thorn in the side of the United States.